Welcome to a new vocabulary episode, and in today's episode we're going to learn 6 new words as we usually do. But not before a little story about a very special kind of music from the old good times. So without further ado, let's start with the story with Ben, and let the good times roll.
Well, our story for today is about a very special kind of music, and this kind of music is called Zydeco. Now, most American pop music can trace its roots to folk music from many cultures. Zydeco music amalgamates aspects of French, Native American, German, African, and Caribbean musical styles into a unique new whole. It emerged in southwest Louisiana as a separate style in the 1940s, but it owes much to the Creole and Cajun music that came hundreds of years earlier. Creoles are French-speaking blacks from Louisiana. Creole music was played on fiddle and accordion. Cajuns descended from French settlers, the Acadians, who came from Canada in the 1600s. These pioneers sang old French folk music. When the British forced the Acadians out of Canada in 1755, many moved to Louisiana. Cajuns, as they became known, settled in the swampy delta. They eked out meager lives fishing and logging. Clifton Chenier, the late king of Zydeco, coined the term Zydeco, les haricots, which is pronounced properly les haricots, is the French word for green beans. An old French saying, les haricots sont pas salés, which means the beans aren't salty, referred to times when people were so poor they even had to abstain from using salt pork to flavor their beans. Circumstances may have been difficult, but the mood certainly wasn't glum. Families would gather for a la-la, which means a house dance, to celebrate a harvest, a wedding, or any other event. One couldn't help but be responsive to the peppy music played on spoons, fiddles, accordions, washboards, animal bones, and triangles. Adults and children danced and celebrated long into the night. Zydeco accommodates old Cajun and Creole dance tunes and homey instruments, but was transformed by the post-World War II elements of rhythm and blues. Chenier introduced the use of drums and guitars. Zydeco now borrows from country western, disco, hip-hop, and reggae. Lyrics now include English along with, or instead of, French. As Zydeco musicians say, le bon temps roule, which means in English, let the good times roll.
Thank you, Ben, for this amazing story about this unique type of music. Not many of you have heard of this type of music before, but it is definitely worthwhile. It is not the most sophisticated type of music, but it's definitely one of the most cheerful and heartwarming ones. But now, without further ado, let's get to it and let's talk about the 6 words we're going to focus on today from the story. Our words for today are amalgamate, abstain, glum, responsive, accommodate, and transform. So let's start with our first word, amalgamate, which is spelled A-M-A-L-G-A-M-A-T-E, amalgamate. Now, in our story, we said Zydeco music amalgamates aspects of French, Native American, German, African, and Caribbean musical styles into a unique new whole. So when you amalgamate things, it seems that you're joining them together to be one. When 2 or more things, especially organizations, amalgamate or are amalgamated, they become one large thing. It's like they combine, they unite, they ally, or they compound. In our case, we're talking about music, but of course we can use amalgamate for a lot of other things as well. So that was our first word. Our second word is abstain. A-B-S-T-A-I-N. Abstain. Now, in our story, we said, when we talked about les haricots sont pas salés, which means in English, the beans aren't salty, we refer to times when people were so poor they even had to abstain from using salt pork to flavor their beans. Well, they didn't have enough money to buy salt pork in the first place, so they have to abstain from using it. What does it mean to abstain from using something or from doing something or from something? If you abstain from something, usually something you want to do, you deliberately do not do it. And by the way, we use that when we talk about voting. When you vote, you have the choice to vote or to abstain. If you abstain during a vote, you do not use your vote, which is not always a good idea, but sometimes it may be necessary. But the important thing, the word abstain, if you abstain from something, it doesn't mean that it is something you hate or you don't want to do. On the contrary, it is usually something you want to do, but you deliberately do not do it. And it's usually a big challenge, like abstaining from drinking, smoking, or other things that you may want to do, but you know that you have to stop. You do that on purpose. So that was abstain. And now for our next word, glum, which is spelled Glum, glum. Now, in our story, we said circumstances may have been difficult, especially we're talking about very poor people, but the mood was not glum. They were very cheerful. Families would gather for a lala to celebrate a harvest, wedding, or any other event. They were cheerful people. So the mood was not glum. So what do we mean by glum here? Well, it might strike you as a close word to the word gloom, which is sad, and it is actually the case. Someone who is glum is sad and quiet because they are disappointed or unhappy about something. It is the same like saying gloomy, miserable, dismal, or down. So this is the meaning of glum. And the good thing that the mood was not glum in this community, and it produced this beautiful Zydeco music. And now for our next word, responsive. Responsive is spelled Responsive. Responsive. Now in our story, when we talked about those lala gatherings to celebrate a harvest, a wedding, etc., one couldn't help but be responsive to the peppy music played on spoons, fiddles, accordions, washboards, animal bones, and triangles. These might not be the most sophisticated instruments like orchestral instruments, but these are definitely hearty ones. So, the word responsive. We said when you are in a place like this, one couldn't help but be responsive to the peppy music played on those instruments that we talked about. So what is the meaning of responsive then? Now, responsive can have different meanings, of course. Here, when we talk about being responsive to something, especially a happy thing, we're talking about responsive people who are quick to react to people or events and to show emotions such as pleasure and affection, especially pleasure and affection. So it is a good thing to be responsive. Responsive can also have different meanings. If someone or something is responsive, they react quickly and favorably. Or when we talk about actions, a responsive action is made as a reaction to something that has just been said or done. So basically, responsive is a big word. It has many different meanings. The meaning we care about here is about responsive people who show their emotions, especially to react to people or events, and these emotions are usually positive emotions like pleasure or affection. And now for our next word, accommodate. Now, I want you to pay attention to the spelling of accommodate because it's one of the words that we usually make mistakes writing all the time because it contains two C's and two M's. And people usually forget about one of the C's or one of the M's, or both. So, accommodate is spelled ACCOMMODATE. So remember, two C's and two M's. But what is the meaning of accommodate? That's the important thing, of course. Now, in our story, we said Zydeco accommodates old Cajun and Creole dance tunes and homey instruments. So, accommodate is a word that has many dimensions. It can mean different things, and sometimes it means those different things at the same time. I know I'm not making it easy for you, but accommodate is a versatile word. So when we talk about accommodate, the word that comes to mind is accommodation. And here we're talking about living somewhere, in a place, apartment, house, etc. If a building or space can accommodate someone or something, it has enough room for them. So that is the basic meaning of accommodate. But when we talk about accommodate in different meanings, we can see the different dimensions this word has. If you do something to accommodate someone, you do it with the main purpose of pleasing or satisfying this person. It's like just doing them a favor or helping them. Or if you accommodate to something new, you change your behavior or ideas so that you are able to deal with it. So here we're talking about a kind of music that accommodates old Cajun and Creole dance tunes and homey instruments. It finds a place to welcome those old traditions, and as we said before, it amalgamates many different kinds to create this new style. So here, Zydeco accommodates old Cajun and Creole. So you have to understand here how accommodate means more than just find a place to include something or someone. It has a little bit more. It has an extra dimension to the meaning here. So that was accommodate. What about our very last word for today? And that is transform. Transform is spelled Transform. And in our story, we said Zydeco accommodates old Cajun and Creole dance tunes and homey instruments, but was transformed by the post-World War II elements of rhythm and blues. So it did not stay exactly the same like old Cajun and Creole dance tunes, but it was transformed into something different. It was transformed by elements of rhythm and blues. And we talked later in the story that we have now drums, guitars, and other instruments, and it borrows from country music, disco, hip hop, and reggae. So definitely it changed from the original Cajun and Creole dance tunes and the original instruments, obviously. So that is the heart of the meaning transform. To transform something into something else means to change or convert it into that thing. And we usually use this word with a positive sense. To transform something or someone means to change them completely or suddenly so that they are much better or more attractive. So that was our transform, and these were the 6 words we wanted to talk about in today's vocabulary builder. Let the good times roll. But don't forget, we have 14 extra words that you can learn if you take the link I'm going to leave in the description of this episode, and you will find all the material you need to even expand your vocabulary further on my website. So take the link, go there, and learn about the full 20 words, of course, with those 6 words included, and you will have all the practice you need. You will have the interactive activities from Quizlet. You will have the downloadable PDFs with the crossword puzzles, word searches, spelling exercises, multiple choice quiz, which all include other examples for these words we're learning, and that will help you cement those new words in your active vocabulary bank so you will have the chance to use these words in your conversations and writing in the days to come. This is your host, Danny. Thank you very much for listening to another episode from English Plus Podcast, and I will see you next time.